Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is the 29th of November 2022 and we've got lots to discuss with you. So without further ado, let's tell you what we are going to discuss during the course of the show. We will begin with the change of the command ceremony of the Pakistan Army that took place at the General Headquarters Rawalpindi today, wherein the outgoing Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa has now officially passed the baton to General Asim Munir as the 17th Chief of the Army of Pakistan. The new Chief of the Army Staff is General Asim Munir officially today, and that happened during an auspicious ceremony that happened in Rawalpindi. It was attended by different personalities, important ministers, and of course as well as many foreign delegates. Also our Prime Minister called General Asim Munir and congratulated him as well. This is going to be our first story. Then we are going to discuss the Ukrainian crisis, the Russia-US tussle, the impact on the Cold War, the international refugee crisis, COP27, and what needs to be done for different countries under the current economic situation that a lot of the countries in the West and the East are engulfed in to come out of this. We'll be discussing this in our second segment. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Saab, who has reaffirmed Pakistan's unwavering support to the oppressed Palestinian people. The message was conveyed on the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. Our Prime Minister said that this day highlights the extreme suffering that the Palestinians have endured under the illegal Israeli occupation. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also took out a special message on this very important occasion. What seems to be the future as far as the Palestinians are concerned? This is going to be our third story. Let's begin without further ado with our first segment, and that is the change of command ceremony of the Pakistan Army that took place in an auspicious ceremony in Rawalpindi. Today, the new Chief of the Army Staff, ladies and gentlemen, is General Asim Munir. More in the following report.
Pakistan Army rendered exemplary services in various crises, crushed the menace of terrorism with valor, protecting the borders from Siachen to Thar. The change of command marks a time-honored tradition that symbolizes the seamless transition of military leadership. Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir took charge of the Pakistan Army from his predecessor, General Qamar Javed Bajwa, in a ceremony held at the General Headquarters in Rawalpindi. The ceremony was attended by Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee General Sahir Shamshad Mirza and Chiefs of the Armed Forces. With the change of command, General Asim Munir has become the 17th Army Chief of Pakistan Army. General Asim Munir was chosen to lead the country's army by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif on the 24th of November. Demonstrating an outstanding career, General Asim Munir was commissioned in the 23rd Frontier Force Regiment in 1986. He passed out with the 17th Officers Training Course, Mangla, and was awarded the coveted Sword of Honour. He has become the first Army Chief who has headed both MI and ISI. Before taking charge, General Asim Munir was posted as the Quartermaster General at the General Headquarters. The prestigious institution of Pakistan Army has full faith that under leadership of General Munir, Army will reach new heights and his appointment will prove to be a positive change for the country.
Brigadier Retired Nadir Mir, who is an analyst, joins us online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. The new Chief of the Army Staff is officially here, General Asim Munir. What do you foresee as far as this new command is concerned? What are the challenges that lie ahead for the new Army Chief?
This is a great day for Pakistan and of course for the Pakistan Army, because the change of command has taken place smoothly and in the tradition of the Pakistan Army, and the new chief is General Syed Asim Munir, and he has taken over. And as you said, and as everybody knows by now, because of all the information that is available publicly, he is highly talented and extremely experienced at the highest tier. And this includes, as you said, stints in both the MI, the military intelligence, and also the ISI, heading both of them. So these are two premier intelligence agencies of the country. And besides that, he commanded the Gujranwala Corps, which faces India, and of course also as QMG dealing with the entire logistics and the other administrative other aspects of the army. So in that sense, besides all this being the senior most, he's had enormous experience, which comes in handy to anybody who's starting this new job, where the entire country is looking to him, not just the country and the army, but even the global forces and the nations abroad, and of course our enemy across India is also very keenly following, as you can see from their propaganda and their also different comments that have been coming recently on the subject.
That is so true. Brigadier Nadir Mirza, when you look behind at Pakistan under General Qamar Javed Bajwa, and when we look forward to General Asim Munir Sahab, what do you feel lies ahead as far as Pakistan is concerned, as far as the role of the Pakistan Army is concerned, and also the role of Pakistan as a nation in this regional dynamics that are slowly and steadily evolving as well?
First of all, as I said always, and I've said it repeatedly as Chairman Pakistan National Reform Movement, the primary role and task of the Pakistan Army and the Pakistan Armed Forces, Air Force and Navy included, of course, in that, is national defense and national security against external threat. That's the primary job of any professional force, and of course, the same applies to Pakistan Army. This is the primary job and primary task. And as you know, because of the war on terror in Afghanistan, the last 40 years, first the Soviet occupation, followed by the American occupation and the resistance therein, a lot of Pakistani focus had been on Afghanistan also, which should now, in my view, wane, or it should decrease, and we should be able to manage that. Before I come to India, we should be able to manage Afghanistan, because the problem from Afghanistan side is not from the Afghan state today. Afghanistan state or the Kabul regime doesn't threaten Pakistan. It is some militants, terrorists, some collection of groups who do that on Indian bidding or whatever reasons. And the issue is basically political, religious, and also militancy, of course. It is not a direct military threat, Afghanistan, to Pakistan. So the direct military threat to Pakistan's national security is from India. And you've recently heard, everybody, that the Indian Northern Command Chief has said that they will attack and capture Pakistan's Azad Kashmir, and they have dreams of all that. So the threat is very much real, and it's right now, and it is evolving, because India is becoming, in their own opinion, a global power or a bigger power. So the threat is increasing manifold. So this is primarily one thing which is very different between the time of General Bajwa, who is 6-year tenure, and now General Sayyid Asim Munir, that though the thing had started at 9/11, but the carryover of the Afghan legacy and the terrorist war and all was still going on in the time of General Rahil Sharif and also in the time of General Bajwa. And it's still there sporadically, and we have to deal with the Afghan Western frontier. But primarily, the focus should be now on national security in the east, that is from India. This is one thing that could be different between the two of them, because of the geopolitical environment, which is different, facing what the new chief is going to face. This is one. And besides
that is so true.
The second is that there's a need to rehabilitate, because of all that has been happening in this year, as you know, because of the political, that is mudslinging and let's call it, I would call it politics at its worst, you know, where the bounds of politics had been exceeded in terms of everything. So there's a need that the Pakistan Army, which is respected and which is primarily national security institution. It is not a political party, though it has internal security roles, but it's not a political party as in the practical
That is,
sense.
of course, true. And Brigadier Nadir Mirza, the importance of the army becomes manifold now in the current situation, that the world is slowly changing, and the world is slowly seeing and observing as well, whether it be what is happening in Afghanistan, whether it be the cross-border terrorism, whether it be India, whether it be Russia, Ukraine. There are a whole lot of issues, and the role of the Pakistan army and the way it has helped other nations, and the way it has also contributed to peacekeeping under the United Nations is also very laudable. And under the leadership of the 17th Chief of the Army Staff, General Asim Munir, I'm sure that Army is going to take leaps and strides in the way forward, in the right way forward. Thank you very much, Brigadier Retired Nadir Mirza, to have joined us, to have talked to us about this change of command that occurred this morning in Rawalpindi, in which the new Chief of the Army Staff, General Asim Munir, now has officially taken over from General Qamar Javed Bajwa. Let's come to our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, and that concerns the different issues that plague the world, and in particular as to how the geopolitics, the geostrategy, the geodynamics of the entire world is changing, whether it be due to the Ukraine-Russia crisis, whether it be the tensions between the East and the West, whether it be due to Afghanistan or India or other issues, or the economy of the world that is taking a huge dent, whether it be in the West and the East. That is what is happening, and that is a sad reality that countries in the West and the East are also seeing. To discuss that in detail, we've been joined in the studios by Mr. Mark Saxer from the FES, or the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung organization in the Asia Pacific. I hope I pronounced it right, Mr. Saxer. Welcome to our show and welcome to the studios of PTV World's Newsroom.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Mr. Saxer, I will not beat around the bush. Let's begin with the crisis that the whole world is talking about, the Ukraine-Russia crisis. There are a lot of different elements to it, whether it be political, whether it be strategic, or whether it be economic. What is the most important in your point of view that the world is seeing as a result of this crisis?
Well, maybe we start a little bit closer to home, and that would be a European answer now. The most important issue is that the Russian attack on Ukraine basically destroyed the European security order that we have established after 1990. So basically the idea that the territorial integrity of a country cannot be touched, that has been destroyed, and that means that we have what we in Germany call Zeitenwende, which means that there is a new epoch, a new era starting right now, and the future is lying open in front of us.
All right, when the future lies open in front of you, there are a lot of challenges that engulf, whether it be the West, and a lot of European nations are seeing the brunt of the crisis in the form of improper gas supply to the EU. What are the measures that need to be taken? How can the West or the East, even countries such as ours, brace themselves for the current situation and the situation that might be arriving in the months to come?
Well, there's the immediate effects. You already mentioned that, of course, has to do with the energy supply. We had long-term agreements with the Russian Federation to supply most of our gas. That has been cut off. And that brings with it enormous challenges in the short run, which means that we have to ramp up our storage when it comes to gas. We do not want to see any shortages in the European winter, which is now starting. We do not want anyone freezing in their homes. We do not want our industry to run out of energy supplies. But it also has to do with cost. We saw that the price of energy has been skyrocketing, and of course the government had to do something, and it introduced a gas price cap, which means that there is a certain guarantee that both households as well as industry do not have to pay more than what they can afford.
All right. Mr. Saxer, in one of your articles, you talk about tackling today's crisis by transformative realism. What do you mean exactly by that? And do you feel this is something that is applicable in societies such as ours, in societies such as yours?
Well, I think it's applicable in every society of the world. It's basically a puzzle that I come across in my 20 years doing this in many Asian countries, actually. This is where I work. And the puzzle is this, that we actually do understand the crisis in front of us, be it climate change, be it the development crisis, be it many, many crises that we face. We have a pretty good idea what needs to happen in terms of policy, in terms of program that need to be implemented. And yet we see that these programs, these projects never see the day of light.
And why is that in your point of view?
I think it has to do with a fundamental misunderstanding. Politics does not work as an academic exercise. It is actually, the end of the day, a power struggle. It is a power struggle between those who are invested in the status quo and like to uphold it, and those who want to make change. So I think the political challenge is actually to create a broad social majority that actually wants to see change and makes that happen.
Can the political supremacy of different countries be pursued to take the challenges firsthand and to do the needful before it's way too late? We see too many crises happening in the world as we speak, and you know of them very well.
Well, what we do see on the global level right now is a rivalry over a global hegemony, over dominance. So that creates all sorts of ripple effects through all multilateral institutions. So unfortunately, at the very time that we need our multilateral institutions to tackle the many crises that you mentioned, they are somewhat paralyzed. They are not very functional. So we need to come to some sort of a global grand deal that we can actually tackle the crisis at hand by cooperating cooperating together.
You talk of a coming, you talk of a deal. Now, you talk of also the time that is coming ahead. In a lot of your articles, you talk about the coming world order. We see a lot of alignments that have happened in the last year or so, or in the last years or so. Do you feel that these alignments are going to strengthen themselves in the months or years to come? Do you feel there are new alignments in the making as we see the months go by?
Well, what we basically witness right now is the world order that has been established after the Cold War 30 years ago is now coming to a point where it's no longer working properly, and we're basically seeing many great powers jockeying for a new position in this, whatever is going to emerge next, right? And of course, these great powers are looking for allies and alignments, as you say, around the world. And there is a lot of demands to choose sides, to decouple, to basically take over a point of view. Yet, I do know that these calls to take sides are very unpopular in Asia, and most Asian countries, as well as many European countries for that matter, are not willing to do so.
All right. But in this whole aura of changing or not willing to change, we have climate change. You know, that is impacting the entire world. Whether you admit it or not, it is affecting countries. Whether you accept it or not, countries like Pakistan have been affected tremendously by floods because of climate change. They're not for any reason, not for any, we are not culpable because of that. We emit less than 1% of carbon, yet we bear the brunt of it all. 1/3 of our country was submerged in water. 33 million plus people have been affected by it. COP27, all other, such moots where people discuss climate change and the effects of it. There's discussion on the establishment of funds to help those countries in need, such as Pakistan, such as others. How important is it for the whole world, the West and the East, irrespective of the country, to accelerate the whole process of, doing the needful to ameliorate the current situation of the world as far as climate change is concerned?
Well, I think to my knowledge, there is no serious or respectable scientist around the world who would deny the very fact that there is climate change or global warming. But in terms of the political solution to this, it's getting more difficult. I think as long as we have a conversation over who bears the cost, who bears the burden, it is a zero-sum game. It's finger-pointing going on. I think the solution to climate change is also to seek the opportunities that lie within restructuring our economies, going to a Green New Deal, a green economy that actually opens up new innovation of products, new markets, new jobs. So there is an entire win-win situation that can happen, and I think we need to talk more about this.
All right. Before we talk a bit more about this, I'd like to also tell our viewers that Mr. Saxer began his career in Pakistan as an intern way back a couple of years back, or should I say a couple of decades back? I should say a couple of years back. How has Pakistan been for you? How has your experience in Pakistan been over the years?
You know, as I say, the first cut is the deepest. So I always held Pakistan very dear to my heart. And I've been coming back all over these past 2 decades to see and have conversations with people in this country. I think it is fair to say that it's some of the most intelligent discussion partners I ever had in my life are here. Also, I think there is a wit to Pakistani people that I appreciate a lot.
All right. That's wonderful. And I'm really happy, that your experience as far as Pakistan is going is good. That is why you returned to Pakistan. But nevertheless, you also returned to Pakistan because it's your work. You head the Asia Pacific department of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, that is the organization. Tell us a little bit about the FES. What is its domain?
Well, FES works in more than 100 countries around the world, and what we do in each and every one of the countries depends very much on the context. What we usually work on are themes of social justice, peace and security. We do a lot of labor rights and these kind of issues, and we've been doing this in Pakistan since the 1980s. What I do is basically on the regional level, so we have conversations between all the major Asian countries and their European counterparts. And what we try to do is what you call strategic foresighting. That means for all of us on both sides of this great Eurasian landmass, there is a tsunami rolling towards us through these geo-economic and geopolitical conundrums. And I think we have to have a very clear-eyed view of what's coming. So just to give you a perspective, maybe for a German, we are an economy that takes great pride on how much we do in terms of exports and how many markets we deliver our products. Now we have to witness that a lot of these markets are closing up. We saw the pandemic and we saw that if you build a car in Germany, you need order 40,000 parts from almost every country in the world. Now suddenly all of these supply chains started to close up. So the resilience was not there. We see a lot of technological changes where you basically may be in a situation where you have to choose side between system A and system B. So there's a lot of difficult challenges ahead, and I think they will be affecting all of us. So what I'm doing here is basically to engage in conversation with thought leaders in order to point to a couple of developments that we see and together think about the answers that we can find.
Speaking of answers that you can find, your work basically focuses, when I look at your CV and all your website, transformation and democratization processes. If you relate that to social justice, that is also something that is very dear to your heart, peace, and the geopolitics or geoeconomy that is plaguing the world and the different changes that are happening, not for the better, but in fact for the worse. How can democratization, social justice help bring about a social revolution in the world wherein we can become maybe a better society, a better nation that is stronger economically?
Well, what you will see, and that goes for Pakistan just as well as pretty much every other country in the world, is that we have to adapt our development models rapidly and dramatically. So we have very, very short time. We're running against the clock in doing some enormous structural reforms. So basically there's three ways of political answers to that. You have a conservative answer, which basically going to say, you don't need these reforms at all. You don't need change. And then on the other side of the political spectrum, you have those who say, more, faster, more disruptive, no matter what the social cost. So what social democracy says is basically, yes, we need to speed up transformation and change, but we have to take the entire society with us. So democracy and transformation are intrinsically linked together because you need to build the alliances and the social compromise that actually enables you to implement the social changes, because if you do not do that, you will run against a wall.
That is so true, and I hope that the world realizes all it is engulfed in before it is too late, before we go towards a line or an area from where the return will be very difficult. Thank you so very much, Mark Sachse, who's the head of the Asia Pacific Department of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung in the Asia Pacific. And thank you for having discussed very candidly your points of views, the work that you've been doing, and of course your relationship with Pakistan that we hope is going to strengthen in the days to come. Of course, it's here since many decades, and I only can hope that it will strengthen, and we'll get more opportunities to discuss with you the different processes that you feel have been adapted very well by Pakistan and those that need to be. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the second segment. Our third segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. More in the following report.
The Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is observed by the United Nations on or around 29th of November each year, in accordance with General Assembly mandates contained in the resolutions. The date of 29 November was chosen because of its meaning and significance to the Palestinian people. On that day in 1947, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 181, which came to be known as the Partition Resolution. That resolution provided for the establishment in Palestine of a Jewish state and an Arab state, with Jerusalem as a corpus separatum under a special international regime. Of the two states to be created under this resolution, only one, Israel, has so far come into being. The Palestinian people, who now number more than 8 million, live primarily in the Palestinian territory occupied by Israel since 1967, including East Jerusalem, in Israel and neighboring Arab states, and in refugee camps in the region. The International Day of Solidarity traditionally provides an opportunity for the international community to focus its attention on the fact that the question of Palestine remains unresolved and that the Palestinian people have yet to attain their inalienable rights are defined by the UN General Assembly. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has reaffirmed the world's body commitment to a solution to the Israeli occupation, noting that this year the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is being observed at a time of diminished hope for peace. He said the long-standing drivers of conflict, including the ongoing occupations, settlement expansion, home demolitions, and evictions, heighten anger, despair, and hopelessness.
Now, today is the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine. Palestine that has been besieged since decades. Palestine that since 1947 has been trying its level best to have a space for its people, despite different resolutions that have been put in the United Nations, despite different discussions and decisions that have been made in the right way as far as Palestine is concerned. There is still this aggression that has been going on in Palestine. Israel is not adhering to the requests or the resolutions that have been under the United Nations auspices. B, it is continuing to pursue its aggression or its barbarities towards the people in Palestine, whether it be through accessing their lands, whether it be through accessing their houses, whether it be by denying their right to freedom. This is or their rights to even go and pray in mosque. This and so much more is happening in Palestine with every passing day. Gaza is one of the red areas where Palestinians every day are subjugated more or less by brutalities by the Israelis. To discuss the importance of this International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinians, and also I'd like to, before I continue further, share this tweet that our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said on this very occasion. He said, on behalf of the people and the government of Pakistan, I reiterate our unwavering support to the Palestinians on this International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. The day highlights the extreme sufferings the Palestinians have endured under the illegal Israeli occupation. We've been joined by Nader Al-Turk. He's a Chargé d'Affaires at the Embassy of Palestine in Pakistan. Excellency, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thanks a lot for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to be with you tonight.
Mr. Al-Turk, today is an important day. It is a day when we express solidarity with the people, with the oppressed people of Palestine. When you look back at all that has been happening in your state, what do you foresee? What needs to be done?
First of all, end the occupation. First of all, stop the double standards which was using by international community against us since more than 70 years. And as example, if we are looking for Resolution 181, it is giving birth certificate for two states. One is Palestinian and the other is a Jew state or Israeli state. Actually, the international society facilitate the establishing of Israel on our homeland, even without getting a permission from our people in that time, by Resolution 181. And on the other hand, denied and keep silence of the establishing of the second state, which was need to be on the ground according to the same resolution. So this is the start of double standard, actually.
All right.
What we needed is activate more than 700 resolution was taken with by the General Assembly of United Nations in favor of Palestine. We asked for activating more than 85 resolution was taken by the Security Council of United Nations, because that make Israel feel that it is a superpower above the international society and above justice, above international law, and that according to that, it is keep acting as a criminal state, a criminal regime, who is, and we are suffering, and we are the victim of that. So what we need actually, not speaking about solidarity, activate real solidarity on the ground.
That is so true, and I'd like to also refer to what the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said today in his message of solidarity. He said that all parties need to take immediate steps to reduce tension, break the deadly cycle, the long-standing drivers of conflict, including the ongoing occupation, settlement expansion, home demolitions, evictions, heighten anger, despair, and hopelessness. He also talks about Gaza. He talks about the role of UNRWA. how important has been the role of the United Nations, or do you feel that it needs to be more assertive in its role as far as Palestine is concerned?
Actually, United Nations, as I said before, take more than 700 or 800 resolution in favor of Palestine. The problem, they are not using the power which are used in other countries to activate this resolution on the ground. Yani when you speak what happened in Iraq, even the Americans taking action without getting a permission from the United Nations against the Iraqi regime and to destroy the country. For Israel, no. They are, as again and again, it is double standard. They are using for them soft words, okay, which is not enough to getting good results and activate the peace process in our region. Israel today, as example, killed 2 brothers in West Bank. Who is speaking about that? Israel daily damage houses, destroyed our infrastructure, make it closer around the cities and villages and refugees camps, and no one question her actions, which mean that world, international society, all the countries around the world need to take actions. Same what they are doing with Russia right now. When Russians start operation against Ukraine, how the world act. We need them to act in the same way against the Israelis.
All right. I would like to understand one thing. You know, you talked about the role of the United Nations. How important has been the role of the friendly countries such as ours, Pakistan, supporting the Palestinian cause? Not since now, but we've been supporting the Palestinian cause since decades. In fact, since we have been established as an independent country in 1947. What have been the most powerful messages from different countries in your point of view?
Actually, we received today a very strong solidarity message from His Excellency President of Pakistan, Prime Minister of Pakistan, the Speaker of Parliament of Pakistan, and Pakistan never and ever will turn their back for Palestinians. Pakistan supporting us even before the establishment of Pakistan. Since 1933, Pakistan was us. Pakistan Muslim was that time was Muslim Indian was with us, and they keep remaining the same. Qa'id Azam was speaking about Palestine exactly what he's speaking about the dream of establishing of Pakistan, which means that we are really appreciate highly your position. Many other countries around the world take the same, and we are actually build a lot of hopes, and we are optimistic about the people support around the world. And that was very clear in the World Cup in Qatar, which is right now. If you see, we don't have Palestinian team playing in football in World Cup in Qatar. With that, Palestine flag rise as one of the countries which is joining the World Cup. Okay, all the teams when they are win the game, they are directly raising Palestinian flag. Okay, that they are proud about that. Exactly that they are proud about raising their own flag. That is what we are really account of it. Okay, and this going to, giving a very good signs that the world is keep changing for Palestine.
Inshallah, I hope that things go from better to Palestine, and we see the solidarity that comes from the Muslim brotherly countries as far as the state of Palestine is concerned. Speaking of which, almost 200 organizations, Mr. Al-Turk, have sent letters to the International Criminal Court's prosecutor and the president of the Court's Assembly of State Parties, and has called on them to take action over the situation in Palestine. Will these efforts prove to be effective to prevent the Israeli crimes against Palestinians?
If the Americans stop supporting blindly the Israelis' criminal regime and the government in Israel, this is going to be shown and see very, very soon. But as long as the Americans and some European countries like British dealing in this blind way and supporting Israelis without giving any respect for the international resolutions, for the international community, for justice, then this going to be delayed for more and more years. But we are optimistic again because the world is changing in favor of Palestine. As example, again and again, what is happening right now, there is one of the Israeli channels in TV are working on ground in Qatar. And many times he asking to make interview with people there. Some of them are foreigners, not Muslim even, and they refuse to make interview because they are refuse to support apartheid system like Israel. Okay, this is show that whatever the Israelis do, what the Americans, British do to make the world silent, this silent will not be for a long time. They soon, with the support of Pakistani people and all our brothers and friends around the world, this day will be sooner and sooner, inshallah.
Inshallah. Also, I'd like to understand, last year on the 22nd of October, Israel outlawed 6 prominent Palestinian civil society organizations. Recent Israeli raids on the civil society organizations also amount to offenses against the administration of justice under the ICC's Rome Statute. Why is the International Court of Justice not taking the necessary action against?
Because politics is ruling. Superpower countries like Americans are pushing hard that if you are taking actions, we're going to freeze your budget, which are our financial support for you. This is make this international institute taking more and more time to take actions, but this, inshallah, going to be changed, as I said before. But Israel are not only Israel. If you are looking even for Facebook, for Twitter, if you are mention anything in favor of Palestine directly, they are block your account. Okay, that's why the Israelis are closing that 6 institutes which speak about actually human rights, speaking about justice in the world and in Palestine, because they like to make everyone speak the truth, shut up, and don't take any action on the ground, show the real face of Israel with the criminal face and apartheid system there.
That is so true. Now, Mr. Al-Turk, 74 years, Palestinians still live under the effects of the Nakba. Another year passes by. More than 5 million Palestinians languish under the Israeli military occupation for 54 years now. Another year of killing, siege, arrest, forced displacement and home demolition. Another year of settlements and dismemberment of the homeland through annexation, confiscation of land, military checkpoints, violence, incitement against Palestinian people and their Christian and Islamic sanctities. I'm not just talking of Islamic sanctities, also the Christian sanctities. The human rights organizations, how important does their role become? The international human rights organizations, and also you talked about some of the people inside of Israel who understand the plight of the Palestinian people and who side by them. Do you feel some kind of change can come from within Israel, or do you feel that the Israeli government is so strong that, it has such an impact on the people, it will not let their voices come out?
Let's taking 2 points. First point, that when we speak about international community, as I said before, it is change in favor of Palestine, day by day. And the voice of supporting Palestine international community, day by day becomes stronger. But on the other hand, sadly, in Israel, the Israeli community day by day become more radicalism. And the peace, who is speaking of peace, become their voice more and more down. No one hears them, and the account of them become little and little day by day. It is decreased daily of that. According to that, the radicalism and the settler voice becomes stronger and harder. And that voice actually, who is killed the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Rabin. He was a partner for peace with Mr. Yasser Arafat. And both of them was killed by the Israelis. Palestinian leader and Israeli leader, because they don't want to reach for the facts that 2-state solution need to be done as soon as possible in the land of Palestine. The radicalism was lead right now with Mr. Netanyahu, and this is new government, which is the most radicalism government ever was been in Israel, denied peace, denied the Palestinian people, denied the rights of Palestinian people, and some of them said there is no Palestinian people at all. This voice, with the silence of the world, will become stronger. The radicalism in Israel will be stronger day by day by the silence of the world. What we needed actually, more pressure from the international society, international community, the United Nations, our Muslim Ummah, our Arab countries to make Israel end the occupation of Palestinian territories, establish the two-state solution, accept the right of return for the Palestinian people for their own homes and the properties which was transferred from it in 1948, and to normalize the relationship between the two countries, Palestinian state and Israeli state, if they accept that, or the solution going to be only one solution, one state for both, which means the Israelis one day soon will be minority in the historical land of Palestine, and was the democratic, they will not rule there. So the option between right now, the football in the game, the football game, it is actually in the side of the Israelis to decide, getting more radicalism and lose the opportunity of peace, and who knows what is what's going to come in the future. And the other side is going for realities, become more realistic and be very clear vision to reach peace between the two sides.
All right.
This is the option between the Israelis' hands.
You talked about the different options that lie with the Israelis. Now, when we talk of the two-state solution, Mr. Al-Turk, what is the Palestinian point of view on the current state of the two-state solution?
Actually, according to 181 resolution, was what taken by United Nations in 1947, that resolution giving about 44% of the historical land of Palestine to Palestinians and 56% for the Jew. And was actually not fair in that time because the majority of the people was Palestinian and the land is owned by the Palestinian. Okay, and no one again asked us about our opinion about that solution. It was taken by the international community, by first power of the British occupation, and according to that, Israel was a bear on the ground. It's getting bears on the ground. Later on, we decided in 1974, our leadership to be understand what is happening and the balance of power in the world, and they said, okay, we can accept establishing of state of Palestine on 22% of the land of Palestine, not 44%, 22%, which is mean West Bank and Gaza Strip with Jerusalem as it is capital. This is the position of our leadership now.
All right.
And this opportunity is not going to be on the table forever. Who knows what is going to be happen if the leadership of Palestine change, like the Israelis go for radicalism, we don't know what the price is going to be according to that. So the future of the people between their hands, the future of stability of the region between their hands, the future of peace process between their hands, but sadly, our leadership until now don't find real partner from Israeli side to create peace and reach peace on our country.
All right, Mr. Nader Al-Turk, thank you very much to have joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a very important issue, the Palestinian cause, and that is what Mr. Nader Al-Turk has been saying, that the option now, the ball is in Israel's court, and they have the option and need to put the option, the two-state solution, which is not going to remain in its present form for too long, as has been said by Mr. Nader Al-Turk. What is very important on this International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people is that the international community, even the Israelis, need to respect international law, maintain international peace and security, prevent seizure of the lands of others by force, and support the right of people to self-determination in accordance with the promises and covenants it has made in the international resolutions and treaties. This is the responsibility of the world. This is the responsibility of Israel and the West as well. This brings us to the end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments. Take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz. And Mr. Al-Turk, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you very much. And all the best for Pakistan. Congratulations for stability which start, and inshallah going to be more and more development and stability of Pakistan. And again, thanks for leadership of Pakistan, political groups, because all of them on the same page in supporting Palestine. Thanks a lot. With youth support, we are stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And we will always support the Palestinian cause, sir. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Allah Hafiz, ladies and gentlemen.